Working moms tend to bond. Having 4 kids, I know a lot about that. Earlier in my career, I was editor of workingmother.com, where I met amazing women in every walk of life. Women who shared their everyday challenges, juggling all the stuff you do. During that time, I met the amazing Monique Moore Pryor. Monique is an attorney by training and a nonprofit executive. She has always been a champion of working mothers, women, and children. She cares deeply about education and diversity and inclusion. Monique has an entrepreneurial spirit and calls herself adventurous. I would say that's true. Monique was introduced to Working Mother because she was a contestant on an iconic television reality show. In a minute, we will learn more about what that show was and about the kaleidoscope career of our next guest, Monique Moore Pryor. Working moms tend to bond. Having 4 kids, I know a lot about that. Welcome to Kaleidoscope Career. I'm your host, Helen Jonsen. Picture a kaleidoscope. Inside, it's made up of multiple pieces of colored glass that get twisted and turned to create unique images. Many of us have had a long list of skills, interests, and passions, and when we move them around, we create a variety of combinations, even as the fundamentals stay the same. On this podcast, we will meet interesting people who, like me, have had kaleidoscope careers. At a time when the world and workplaces have been disrupted, it's time to learn from those who have succeeded without a linear resume. Please join us as we discuss a kaleidoscope career. Please welcome Monique Pryor. She is the executive director of the Free Library of Philadelphia Foundation. Monique, your skills, talents, and passion have combined to create a career where you have been a workplace diversity executive, attorney, and inspirational leader with a successful record of cultivating inclusive and engaging environments.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Helen. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you and your audience.
You have played key roles in strengthening organizations by promoting multiculturalism and championing diversity of employees, administration, students, and other stakeholders. I know you care deeply about community building and making the world a better place for the kids living in it. Tell us a little bit about how you started your career journey. What was your original plan?
I became a journalism major in college. I was a journalism major, thought I was going to be a broadcast journalism. I anchored the morning news in high school, and I enjoyed journalism and telling stories, right? That's the theme, telling stories. Quickly into college, I let the noise of others tell me that that was a competitive field and I should choose something more practical. So then I switched my major to public relations. And upon graduating, I knew I wanted to get a second degree. But once again, I let negative voices speak to me and figured, well, I'm not going to do well on the GMAT, even though my father was a math teacher. Right? I've convinced myself of that. And so, because I am great at communicating with people, I was always interested in debate. And I knew from my little research or lay knowledge that most attorneys did not practice law. I saw many leaders, executives, congressmen, um, executive CEOs who were also attorneys. And so I knew I was going to be a leader in some form or fashion. And so I decided my second degree should be in the law. I went to law school and fell in love with the law, fell in love with persuasive writing, which is storytelling, right? And enjoyed that part of the law and became excited about it. But when employment opportunities came along, the ones that I succeeded in getting were those that limited me to sitting behind a desk, doing research and writing, which I enjoyed. However, the part of my personality that enjoyed communicating with people, uplifting people, motivating people was getting suppressed. And I just was not excited about that. And this may sound like this all came to me overnight, but this is after years of working as an attorney.
So that's the beginning of your big journey, right?
That's the beginning of my big journey. I was practicing, in securities litigation for a while, and I saw that one, I grew up being civically minded. I always gave back to the community. My mother was a champion of women, and I, in my young adult life, had became the same as well as one for children, in particular young girls. And I was recruited to sit on a number of boards, including the YMCA. And because of my legal background, they asked me to chair or start a plan giving committee. And I enjoyed that aspect of my nonprofit life, giving back to the community without getting paid. And everyone has always told you you should get paid to do what you would do for free. Right. And so I had a little bit of insight. My husband was a CEO at arts institutions, and seeing that he pursued and enjoyed his passion in the arts, but also was able to make an impact on people. So I networked my way into plan giving in the higher education space, became in love with higher ed. It's no coincidence in hindsight that my mother became a professor and that both my parents were public school teachers. So here I am on a higher ed campus. I'm like, wow, I'm becoming like my mother. 16, we cringed at that, but I found a lot of joy in that and being around younger people and having an impact on the trajectory of their lives. And then from there, I was asked to do more things by the president, be in the community, represent the institution, attend city council meetings, different activities like that, where I began to align the community's needs along with the institution. So I knew I wanted to do more in this space outside of plan giving, and started applying and networked my way into becoming chief of staff for a college in Brooklyn Heights. And basically, I was the president's right hand. I managed all his strategic priorities. And that position morphed into chief engagement and external relations. Oh, yeah, I said a long title.
Do you create that position? It sounds like it was created for you or you created it. And remind us, what school was this?
Yes, this was St. Francis College in Brooklyn Heights, which has been in existence for over 165 years. The mission still remains the same. It was founded in the 1800s to serve working class individuals, and to date, the institution still serves that community. At the time I was there, more than 70% of the students had a household income lower than the poverty line in New York City, which is less than $70,000 a year for a family of four. So that position was created for me. As chief of staff, I was asked to lean into departments where I had a natural knowledge, which was fundraising, which was also marketing communications, considering my background. And because I was at a level where I understood the need to collaborate and find synergy throughout the community. I hadn't worked in New York at that time when I took the job in 10 years. And I must say, my colleagues and counterparts found it amazing that I was able to reach back to those contacts to assist me with uplifting the college. People here think Francis and they think Catholic, but it only Catholic, but it really served the community of Brooklyn and the other boroughs.
Lots of foundational skills that really people with nonlinear careers need to always fall back on to make choices. You have made great choices. And after moving through higher ed, you told me that that was a great level of student to work with, but you felt like it was a little late. So you decided to look for something else, and that's your current position. Tell us a little bit about being executive director.
Yes, executive director of the Free Library of Philadelphia Foundation was just an amazing opportunity. Not only am the inaugural executive director of the Free Library of Philadelphia Foundation, even though it's been in existence for over 133 years, but I get to work alongside the president and director of the Free Library of Philadelphia, who is the first African American to run the organization in over 133 years. So to make history here is amazing in and of itself. But yes, like I shared with you, some of the pain that I felt at the differences I was able to make, the change I was able to make, the impact I was able to make in higher ed with some students whose lives have just blossomed because of what we were able to do for them. It was frustrating that I couldn't do that for more students. And I knew then that I was like, wow, if I can get to them sooner, I can just make a bigger impact. And that's what I'm able to do here at the Free Library of Philadelphia Foundation. We raise money and support the library and enhance what they already provide. And certain things we do alongside with the library as partners. We train in-home daycare providers, those small daycares in people's homes and communities, on how to teach literacy to toddlers, to children.
Wow.
You have 3 daughters, I have 2. When I saw how these children were learning to read, I said, "I need a do-over." I did it all wrong. I had no cozy corner. I had none of these things, the tools and skills that these providers have to teach these children. Not only do we pay the trainers to teach the in-home daycare provider and her staff, but we also provide them with the resources and tools and books and pillows and things like that that make the environment comfortable for them to learn. So that's just one of the many programs that we do that not only is our mission, but serves my values and goals as well.
I see you just light up when you talk about that. So I want to take us back a little bit because the term working mom has certainly applied to you. And that's how you and I met. I was editor of workingmother.com and on the leadership team of Working Mother. And you were introduced to us for a very specific reason. I allude to it in my earlier tease to the program that you were on an iconic TV series. You sitting here now as this executive, is anyone going to believe that you were on The Amazing Race? Tell us about that journey.
Oh, that was a life-changing experience, unique, one of a kind that I was so honored to be a part of. I will say in this age of social media, the internet being at our fingertips, I do find after the second meeting, a professional on the other side will say, "I did Google you. I did see you on The Amazing Race." So, and that happens quite often. I'm not necessarily recognized on the street, but in the digital age, people do Google you. So, first of all, that was exciting, as I said, to be chosen. We competed with over 100,000 other teams to be one of 11 teams to make The Amazing Race. So we were so proud of that. My partner in crime at the time, Sean Morgan, someone I went to college with, was my sorority sister. I ushered her into my sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha. And then we studied abroad together in Kenya and became close friends. We discovered our similar characteristics. One, we were entrepreneurial, and two, we were adventurous. And so when we saw this show, I think both of us had just had our first children. And so they were babies. And we said, when the time is right, we are going to do this show. And we had our kids around the same time. So our second children were 3.5 when we applied to be on the show. And it's very common now for people when they are on reality shows to have a message or to promote a business. But The Amazing Race, as well as Survivor, were the first reality shows to really allow participants, and not that they told us this, but we saw that some of them did have a platform. And our platform, we really wanted to be to motivate working mothers. So I think that's why Working Mother magazine was attracted to us and we to them, because at the time we had a toddler and, children in grade school. And we used to be these adventurous, outgoing individuals before we became spouses and mothers. And we also were pursuing businesses. And so we felt like if we were in a rut, if we were having challenges and were constantly being able to overcome them, why don't we motivate other mothers to do the same? And I believe we did that by making it on the show out of 100,000 teams, and also, yeah, showing a level of respect and curiosity as we were on the show together.
It's such a great story. Now, you, because of the show, but also an abroad program, you've traveled to other countries and you've been in other countries. How does that inform what you do here?
First, let me say with The Amazing Race, I only recently put it on my resume. I think it took at least 10 years for me to do that. And I had an executive coach say, "That's an amazing experience you had. It's unique, but it's also given me certain skill sets. It's also allowed me to enhance and to improve on and become an expert in certain areas like communication." So traveling all over the world especially in countries where you don't speak language, on the Amazing Race and other aspects of my career where you've had to negotiate a space where you don't speak the language allows you to have patience, charisma, persuasive characteristics that can help you win in a situation. At my former institution, we traveled to Caribbean countries to form partnerships with the government as well as local high schools to encourage partnerships to get their students to come study in the United States at our college. And a few of those Caribbean countries were Latin, Spanish speaking, where I didn't speak the language. And so, once again, even though some of my counterparts spoke Spanish, I did not. But I learned to lean in to use that as a positive trait that I didn't speak Spanish because it allowed people to have empathy for me, laugh with me, laugh at me, to really take down the barriers in many situations. So traveling the world continues to impact my career in a positive way, allowing me to, yeah, have not only critical thinking skills, but creativity as well.
With all of your experience and being a hiring manager, somebody who's been on both sides of things, we talk about a kaleidoscope career because I want to explain to people that doing things differently doesn't mean you haven't done them well. And sometimes it gives you, as you said, these little stops along the way give you more experience and more skills and bring out different talents than you expected. How do you use your knowledge and your comfort with that when you're trying to hire someone else? Or what do you tell hiring managers to look for in people because of that?
Yeah, I love this question. The advice I will give to people who are looking to transition out of their career that helped me into a new field because you know in your mind you can do the job, right? Especially, I'm not putting down what I do, and I often say is if it's not rocket science or short of brain surgery, sometimes lawyers we think we can do everything, right? So I'll start from there. But I do know hiring managers in general, their time is valuable. Your resume has to stand out, right? And if your jobs do not align with what they're looking for, it'll be hard for them to decide to pick your resume out of that stack. So oftentimes I found myself going the extra mile to find out through LinkedIn or other means who I knew. I often would go after jobs on board. I mean, on a nonprofit. So I would look to see who was on the board. I would send it to influential friends in that area, or yeah, if someone on Wall Street, I would ask my friends who are on Wall Street did that they know that board member, which allowed me to really elevate my resume and allow someone to take a look at me or interview me in person. Because I always felt like if they could just meet me, I know that I can be second to none against anyone. It will be hard for them to say no. And I've done that throughout my pivots, as you said, in my careers outside of the law. But I do tell my hiring managers, we're in the process of doing some hiring now, that, skill sets are transferable. And in my previous positions when I've hired people and now, I appreciate people coming from outside the industry because it allows us to look at things a different way if we hire that person and see that if their skill sets are transferable, their way of doing business in that field may help benefit us a certain way. And we can find that out through the interview process.
Also part of a diversity mindset, isn't it? A
It
diversity of thought. It doesn't have to be just a diversity of person, but a diversity of background, a diversity of thought.
I love that. I love that diversity of thought concept, and because diversity can apply to so many things, and so can unconscious bias. I remember being at an institution where the new people were treated like crap. I'm like, this is unconscious bias because we're new, and so I try not to allow my staff to fall into those pitfalls. But yes, that's diversity of thought, background, economic, race, gender, all of that, and even your career helps to enrich an organization. And so I just lean into my hiring manager with that. Like, let's look at the person who does not have it all here, but has an interest in this area. I've hired people that have been in Wall Street, but have published books. They don't been speaking tour. You can see where their heart is. And we've given those people a chance here in my other organization.
That's great. So, a couple quick questions before we go. One, is there something in your career you absolutely haven't done yet, but you really want to do?
Oh, wow. That's a good one. I would love to speak on a platform to women to encourage and motivate them globally. That's something I started doing on Amazing Rate. I've developed a few platforms over the years where, yeah, I wanted to share that message and to galvanize women to realize their true potential. And so I would love that to be a part of any job or responsibility that I have. I see some of my friends in organizations that can do that, leverage the company or their partners to allow them to speak to those audiences. So that really brings me joy. I do it on a one-on-one basis with friends, make connections, introduce people just naturally. And I want to do that on a bigger scale.
Oh, it's so exciting. And so remind us, where can we find the information about the Free Library Foundation as well as some other passion project that you're working on?
Oh, thank you. So you can find more information about the Free Library Foundation at freelibrary.org and go tap on the tab that says support the library. That's where you will find the foundation. You can also find me, Monique Moore Pryor, on LinkedIn. My biggest passion project that is coming up is called BIPOC Executive Women, and you should hear about that soon. So just follow me on LinkedIn and you will receive more information about that.
No, we're looking forward to that. Thank you so much for sharing your Kaleidoscope career with us today.
Thank you so much. I love the term.
Thank you for listening to Kaleidoscope Career. For more information about our guests, their work, and their passions, check out our show notes. And please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Kaleidoscope Career is a production of Helen Jonsen Media, produced by Helen Jonsen and Maggie Pecknick. Learn more at helenjonsen.com.